Hi everyone, hope you're all keeping well. Thanks for joining us for another of FlowForma's exclusive virtual workshops today, where you'll once again see a significant business process digitized in under an hour. My name is Conor McGrath. I'm Digital Marketing Executive here at FlowForma, and I'll be your host for today's workshop session. And we're really excited about this webinar today. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm delighted to be joined once again by my colleagues David Shanley, who's Product Specialist, and Stuart Miller, who is Territory Manager here at FlowForma. Very welcome again, guys. Thanks very much for joining me for another session today.
Thank you, Conor.
You're welcome.
So once again, we wanted to give our audience today an insight into how easy it is to use the FlowForma process automation tool and how it allows you to digitize your processes quickly, gain rapid adoption, and get an early return on your investment. During this workshop, we ask our audience today to be as interactive as possible. So please take part. We've got a few polls that'll be flashing up on your screen throughout. And to ask any questions, as I mentioned, to David and Stuart while they're building out today's chosen process. So get those questions and comments in via the chat box as we go along today, please. So with that in mind, let's find out where today's audience are logging in from. So I think it's always nice to find out where our followers are dialing in from. So I'm going to kick off with a quick poll and just find out where everyone is logging in from today. And already I see plenty of feedback coming through, and it's quite mixed, guys, I should say. So it's nice to see people logging in from all around the world here today. I might just give you another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on that one, and I'll just close that one off. So yeah, just see that it's nice to see such a diverse mix here today. And once again, a warm welcome to you all, and thanks for taking the time to join us here today. Okay, so the results are in, and as you know, before today, we once again asked you all what process you would like to see digitized today. And as you can see, I think it's a landslide here, a clear winner with 41% of the registrations want to see a check sheet process automated during today's workshop. What do you think of that, guys? It's quite a margin.
Different one.
Are you surprised, Stuart?
No, I don't. Yeah, I am actually, Dave, to be honest. I would have thought maybe an approval process, an expenses process. So, and this is something totally new for you, isn't it? So it'd be interesting to see how this one goes, Dave.
It will.
So I suppose before we get started, I might just pull up another quick poll for us on this one to find out what our audience process challenges are today. And this is a multiple choice with multiple answers. So by all means, feel free to click on any ones there that you feel are applicable. So you've got your process is currently paper-based, and you've got a lack of mobile accessibility in online or offline, poor communication with suppliers or third parties, or information is submitted incorrect or is lost. I know those are all quite common pain points. So I see there's loads of feedback coming in on those, which is it's really great to see. It's quite varied. So I might just give you another 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 on that one, and I might just pull those up on the screen for everyone here, and we might just have a quick view of this. Okay, so we've got 50% of people saying that their process is currently paper-based. You got 70% lack of mobile accessibility, 40% of poor communication with third parties, and we've got 40% information as well is lost. So.
Quite a broad section there, Conor, isn't it?
I think so. Yeah, that's quite it's quite a broad answer. So we might just pull that one down then, and we can get started. So now that we know your process challenges, I'm going to let you take it from here, Stuart and Dave.
Okay, thank you, Conor. Thanks for that introduction. And hi, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, because I know we've got attendees from across the world today. So we have another backed by popular demand. The ones that we've done previously have been very successful. I think, Dave, last time you did a purchase order request, and the time before that was was HR onboarding. You managed successfully to digitize those flows within an hour, but this is something new, a check sheet. So how are you feeling about that?
Yeah, we should get it done. It'll be tight, but we'll get it done. It's an interesting choice actually, and given the feedback we're getting there around offline capabilities, I think check sheets are used a lot for on-site inspections and so on. So it's going to be a very interesting one to showcase.
I would imagine there's going to be, for the other people, please don't be disappointed if you chose one of the other processes. I think there's going to be plenty in this session for you. I think I sort of know some of the things that you're going to include within the check sheet, and there's going to be things that would have been involved in the other processes, the expenses, the approval, the travel requests. So there's a lot in this for everybody. So please, you're gonna pick up a lot. You're gonna get a lot of learnings over the next hour. But also, what we can do after this session is we can arrange a one-to-one with you, where we can specifically discuss your process challenges, any inefficiencies that you've got, and actually we can then agree if you want to digitize one of your own specific flows, so we can make it really specific to you individually. And also there's an option for an assisted trial where we can help you learn the basics of FlowForma, and there's a 14-day free trial. Connor will explain how to get onto that by the end of the session. So look, we run these sessions every quarter, and as I said, they've proved very popular with some excellent feedback, very interactive with a lot of questions coming through. In the last couple of sessions, we've received some feedback that it would have been handy to have a little bit of information about FlowForma, who we are, and what our customers are saying about us. So what I'd like to do is just take the first 2 or 3 minutes before I hand over to Dave, just to bring you up to speed, try not bore you, but inform you. That's what I'm going to do for the next 2 or 3 minutes. So as you can see from the slide in front of you, we are an award-winning process automation provider. What makes us very different is that what Dave is going to be showing you is all based from 100% no code. So you don't need IT subject matter experts that have coding skills, i.e. for low-code providers and solutions. Business process owners can actually be empowered to digitize their own processes. And we're recognized globally by Forrester. And one thing that is a huge strength of FlowForma is the levels of customer advocacy. If you go on our website, www.flowforma.com, and you go to the Learn section with the case studies, you'll read all about that. You'll actually see some webinars with our customers as well, because they're more than happy to come in and support FlowForma and sing the virtues of the actual solution. So high levels of customer advocacy involved. As you can see, we've got a lot of users right across the globe. Next one, please, Connor. Okay, we're very open about where we sit in the market. You don't need to read all this, but most of you will be aware of robotics process automation and digital process automation. The main difference between the two is one dictates human intervention and the other doesn't. So they sit and solve different challenges and problems in the market. We firmly sit in the digital process automation area, and you can see that we are very different from any other of the other providers in the market, which are predominantly low code, and it's that no code provision. So as I say, that empowers and enables business process owners who have the problem, but now we're empowering them with the solution. So next one, please, Connor. We've got all sorts of sizes, shapes of customers across the world. So right from Australia and New Zealand, right the way through Europe, right the way over to the US and Canada. and all different sizes as well. So there are enterprise users. We've got the likes of Balfour Beatty, digitized over 400 processes, Aon, who have digitized 80 processes, and smaller organizations like the Liverpool School of Tropical Medicine, who have actually digitized just about everything, have a paperless finance department that have digitized over 200 processes. So it doesn't really matter what size or what vertical or what sector you work in. We have lots of customers in each of those areas. What would be very useful for you to do, rather than listen to us about what our customers, is if you go on the G2 Review website, on there you'll actually see what our customers are telling us. We've got high marks on there, 4.4 out of 5 and 9.1 out of 10 for lifecycle management. So this session today is all about the speed and the agility and the ease to digitize processes. And I think this feedback from one of our customers, Carl, at the Downer Group, sort of sums it all up and why these sessions are so popular. In that, Carl's feeding back that he did a parallel exercise with Power Apps, which we regularly get compared with, and FlowForma came out tops, came out significantly better in terms of capability, integration, and ultimately the speed. And the thing that's the most important bit there is the last comment. FlowForma is basically 4 times faster. So if you want to get to a strategic objective, you want to solve a problem in a hurry, then FlowForma definitely fits that bill. Okay, at this point, I'm going to be quiet. I've done my request to give you an update on who we are and what our customers are saying. I'm going to hand you over now to Dave, who's hopefully going to make it 3 in a row and digitize a process within the next hour. Over to you, Dave.
Thank you, Stuart. Thank you very much. Okay, let me know. You can see my screen, yeah?
Yes, can.
Okay, excellent. So the process that won out is the check sheet process, but as mentioned there earlier on in our call, there's going to be functionality, and this is going to resonate with people who've chosen the approval process, the expenses process. The reason being is that we're going to have an approval segment to this, but we're also going to be using tables, and tables are kind of key to efficiently creating check sheet processes. So what you're looking at here is the dashboard to the FlowForma app. So FlowForma sits on SharePoint, and we use SharePoint essentially. SharePoint Online is a content database. So any forms created in this environment will get appended to an all forms list here. So if I were to click on it here on the left-hand side menu, if I click on it, you'll see anytime a new form is created, it will get added to this list here. You can then publish questions through as additional columns to the right of that. And the end user isn't going to be going into this dashboard here to engage with forms. This is where the process builder is going to go to build out forms. For desktop engagements, the end user is going to be going into, say, a SharePoint team site like this potentially, where you can surface up using FlowForma collaborative work management. You can surface up tiles to initiate processes, and then have embedded here list views. So forms awaiting my input will show you all the forms that require your attention. So you simply click on one of these to engage directly with that form. What you can also do here as well, obviously, is you can push data through to various different systems, be it a native SharePoint list, SQL Server, and so on. We have a no data feed, so if you want to capture your reports, you can embed them very easily here as well. This example here being a Power BI dashboard, that's pulled through from a native SharePoint list. But we do have a no data feed, so all the information captured in this environment can be pulled through and use whatever BI tool then to report. So you get a nice kind of holistic view of all the various different touch points that are relevant to a user. And as was mentioned there earlier on as well, we have mobile enablement too, together with offline capabilities. Something very important to mention here is that when you're building out your process as a FlowForma administrator, you don't have to build it out separately for mobile. It automatically renders for mobile for you, iOS and Android, and has offline capabilities. So again, that's kind of closer to what the desktop dashboard would look like. And let's go take a look at the process we're going to build out. So if I go back in here, I have a tile to initiate it here called check sheet. And if I click on that, that's going to open up the form for me. It's simply a URL, a link. So that link can be surfaced up on your intranet. It could be a link in an email. It could be on your desktop. So that's entirely up to you how you want to have that available to the user. So to talk a little bit about the layout of the form here, you have a header portion up the top here, and that can be customized. So you can pull in a logo. You can also take data from the form and sit that in the header as well, should you wish all stakeholders and all parties to have visibility of it. Sitting directly underneath that, we have a grey step bar within which you have the currently engaged in step in white. And we can see in this instance, there's a subsequent supervisor review step here. This is a two-step process. So a step is similar to a task. So it's a block of content you can attribute to a person or to a group of people. So if I scroll down, you see all the various different fields that the user can engage with. Now, what we're going to be using here in our build is we're going to be using lists, native SharePoint lists, which are very easy to work with. So for example, here's one I created for a project supervisor. So each project has an associated supervisor. What I also created here as well is I created a project site list. So again, same principle here, a little bit of effort, and you get a lot of use out of these lists here. So again, I've got my project and sites here. So when I select a site, it's going to allow me to cascade through with my second lookup question and select the appropriate site for that project. So again, if I go in here and select project D, I've got a cascading list lookup here, which allows me then to select only associated sites for project D. What I also have in place here is the option to choose other. So if I choose that, we have a business rule firing here that's going to show me other. So it's also pulling through the supervisor here as well. And again, that's pulled through from my list matrix. So once I've got a project, I have an associated supervisor. I'm using a business rule here, a get list data rule, to pull through the appropriate supervisor in here. These rules are all built using 100% no code. So we have our site here, which is if other is chosen, we have a hide show question rule to display other, and we have a get list data rule firing here. So if project D is chosen, it's going to pull through the appropriate supervisor into this field here. We've lots of different question types available to you. They align with the native SharePoint data types. We have our own custom question types. Very popular one, for example, in the construction vertical is geolocation. So I can go in here and I can pinpoint the location, which is very useful if you have a process that you want to mark out a very, very specific spot on it. We have two different table types here, two different table structures. One is a dynamic table, the other is a fixed table. And it really depends on how you want the user to engage with the form. With a dynamic table, the user can add and remove rows as they see fit. With a fixed table here, you're pulling in this instance, a list matrix and mapping that through into the table. There's a fixed number of rows and the user is not able to add or remove rows. So again, the fixed one is very useful if you do want the user to engage with each specific row in this table. You would make each of the fields mandatory and the user would have to engage with it. Whereas a dynamic one like this, the user has a level of flexibility. So what we have sitting in our dynamic table here is we have a category list lookup. So we're choosing a category. So if I choose category A, we've got a cascading list lookup question here that's filtering and only displaying associated items for that category. What's also happening here is we would get this data rule firing, and that's pulling through an item A1 details description for that item here. So you could see, for example, within expenses processes, how this could be used quite easily too. You could upload an image here. That could be a receipt. In this instance here, we're going to upload something from a site. We're going to take a picture on our device, and that's going to get pulled through here into our upload image. What I can do here is I can annotate over the image and make whatever marks I need. I can put in my comments here, and I can say, yeah, I've checked that. So I can progress through this, add as many rows as I need to here, select the appropriate cascading list lookup items here, pull through a description should I need it, and continue, say for on site, if I'm working on a tablet, continue to add images by taking pictures or uploading from my device.
Okay.
So again, you can build this out very quickly. Now, tables are typically in a lot of tools that are out there are notoriously challenging to work with. FlowForma, it's a lot easier, as you'll see now shortly. And again, this is a fixed table here. Again, user can't add or remove rows. What we also have in situ here is a wet signature. So it's the ability to actually sign on the device with your finger or stylus. And again, this would be used a lot. Say if you've got an on-site inspection, you don't want to have the overhead, or you may not have the ability to have all the users as FlowForma users. So in this case here, you could use what's called FlowForma Engage. So FlowForma Engage allows you to engage third parties either anonymously or securely. So what that means is if you've got anonymous access here, you can have maybe a crew sharing a tablet here and working on a specific step here, and then you would capture wet signatures, or you might have third parties as well. So each person could then sign the associated section that applies to them and push the process on.
Okay. So you can get as sophisticated as you like.
Exactly. And what you can do here as well is what we're doing when we submit this step is it's going to move through to the supervisor for review. So they're going to receive an email notification and they're going to be assigned. So the person we pull through here is going to get assigned the next step. But what we're also going to do here on submission of this step is we're going to use FlowForma's generate document capabilities. And what that allows you to do is it allows you to use a Word template and populate that with content from the format which is generated. So in this instance here, when I click submit, step assigned to rule is firing, send email is firing, and generate document is also firing. As you'll see here now in a moment, I put this together very quickly just before our call here. You can see our check sheet here.
Okay.
And that was put together in about 10 minutes.
Wow. That's what you're going to do now.
Well, if we have time, I'll do that from scratch. If not, we'll just dip into the pre-existing one, which is sitting here, and I'll show you how it's put together.
Okay.
So we're on to our second step here now. So in this instance, the supervisor will have received an email, clicked on the link, take them through to their respective step here. Now, in this case here, you need to decide whether or not you approve or not. So you can give the supervisor permission to review the content on the first step by simply clicking on it, and it's read-only. Or you could take the content from the first step and map it through to the second step. It's entirely up to you how you do that. Now we have a business rule firing here as well. So if approve equals request amendment, we're going to show a subsequent question here called amendment comments. And because request amendment has been selected here, when I click submit, we have business rules firing here as well on step completed. We're going to pass it back to the first step. And we're going to embed these comments here on the first step for the check sheet initiator to address. So it's going all the way back to the first step. And you'll see here, I've got the amendment comments embedded. So I can go and make the appropriate change here to my check sheet.
Yeah.
And that's what we're going to build out.
Yeah. So a good time to ask a question, Dave, because they're starting to come in.
Sure.
So we've got a question from Audrey. Good question, Audrey. She describes herself as proficient in 365 and SharePoint, but has no coding experience. Not that you need it for this, but she's asking how long does it take a business user like herself to get up and running with FlowForma?
Yeah, so 2 days worth of training will get you up and running, no problem. It's 100% no code. And what's equally important, as you'll see shortly, is you're working with a single build interface. So you don't have to knit various different components together, such as the rendering of a form, the workflow component. They don't have to be knit together. They're all part of the same interface. So a couple of days training will be sufficient to get her up and running. What we also do is we have a Sure Start program, which allows you to build collaboratively with FlowForma's customer success team your first process. So, you learn a lot very, very quickly, and it's all reusable.
Okay, so what you learn in the training will actually be put into practice when it comes to building out collaboratively that first process.
100%.
2 days, Audrey.
So I'm going to close this here, and I'm going to start our process build from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go in here into my left-hand panel here, and I'm going to go create new process flow. And we'll call this check sheet webinar. So this is just the name of the physical process builds. What's going to happen now is it's going to open up for me in Flow Designer. So Flow Designer is your 3-in-1 toolkit that combines your forms your workflow and your document generation capabilities in one single build interface. Now, there's a lot of ways you can build here, and depending on, you know, personal preference, what you can do, for example, is you can knock on form preview here, and you can go in and start adding your steps, and they'll render for you. Static version of form will render for you here on the right-hand side. So I start with my steps. I've got 2 steps. I've got my check sheet details. I'm just going to assign each step to myself for the time being.
Okay.
And I have my supervisor approval. And again, I'll just assign that to myself. So once you have your steps in place, you can select a step and start adding your questions to each step. So what I'm going to add here, obviously, at the start is going to be the name of the initiator of the check sheet. So I'm going to call that requester. And you'll see here all the various different question types that are available to you.
Sorry, Dave, you can make these mandatory as well, can't you?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. When you're building at the outset, you're not going to do that because you have to fill in each field when you're testing, but yeah, absolutely. So you see all the question types here. There's loads to choose from. The reality is you're going to be using the same 5 or 6 continuously.
Sure.
That lookup there is looking up SharePoint list, which you're going to be doing. Dynamic CRM, entity data management integration, SQL Server lookups. It's all there. Repeating tables, which we're going to use.
Okay.
Wet signatures, which we're also going to use. So lots to choose from here. What I'm going to select here is a person or group. I'm going to set it to the current user. So you'll see here, my build started to layer up here, and that will continue to render for you when you have the form preview knocked on. What you can also do here as well, it's going to knock it off for the moment, is again very useful when you're building a process out at the outset, is Visual Flow Designer. So that gives you a flow diagram representation of your build and can be quite useful. If you've got a lot of stakeholders engaging in this kind of brainstorming session here. So you've got a visual representation of the process build, and it's a lot easier for those stakeholders then to actually see what's happening. And you can actually add and remove your steps from here as well, should you wish, and then publish to Flow Designer. So moving back into my build here, I'm going to start layering this up here. So what we have next is our project. So again, we created a couple of lists here that sit in the background. And the beauty of lists is, you know, you don't have to go into FlowForma to change the list content. You can change the list on SharePoint, and that will reflect in any forms going forward, including pre-existing ones. So if I go down here for my lookup, the list I want to look up here is my project list. So I'm just going in and I'm selecting that. And we'll see it here. That's my list here. I want to look it up in the project column here. We also have a site. And again, this is our project site list here. Actually, let me just check something here. Just bear with me a moment, Stuart. I'll check my lists. Project supervisor, okay. Our site. And our site is going to be another lookup. Okay. And we're going to look up our project site lists. So these lists are very quick and easy to create. And what they allow you to do is, I'm going to look up in the site. There's one small tweak I have to make here. Now, the beauty of FlowForma is you can go in and you can make changes very, very quickly to your build. So I just want to check my project site list here, make sure there's unique values in here. So there should be. So project D, that's okay. And then I'm just going to go in here, have a quick check. Again, if you're used to using Excel, it's very easy to work with your SharePoint lists here. So I'm going to look up this as project supervisor here. So I'm going to go back in and change this to project supervisor. It's going to give me unique values. Each one has got an associated supervisor. Now, what you can do as well whilst you're building is you can run tests very quickly and easily on what you're building as you're building it. So I've got my project, I've got my site. I want to filter this site lookup to only choose sites that are associated with my chosen project here. So project is equal to my chosen project here.
Okay, straightforward.
What I want to do next is I want to add my supervisor. Now my supervisor is available in this list here. Each project has an associated supervisor. So I'm going to use the get list data rule to pull through the appropriate supervisor. Next, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a location. So I'll apply my business rules once I have the fields in place. I'm going to have my location, which is geolocation, which is here's it gone. Here we go. And I'm going to include accuracy, I'm going to include altitude, and I'm going to show the map. Now what you can do here as well is you can create, at any moment in time, you can create a test form, which will be rendered here from Flow Designer. And you can see what you've built. So I can go in, I can select my project, I can go in, I can select my site here. You can see that's all working as well. Now, what I'd like to do here as well, if other is chosen, I want to capture what that person is, or sorry, rather what that site is. So I'm going to go in here. It's going to add a question for other as well. The beauty of FlowForma is you can build very quickly and you can make changes very quickly.
Yeah.
It's all about agile building. So I'm going to make this maybe a text box with 250. I'm going to drag and set it underneath here.
And go back to it 6 months later. It's very easy to pick up what rules, etc. you put in.
Exactly. And you'll really see that now in a moment when you see the business rules being applied. So all I'm doing at the moment, I'm just adding my questions. Once I have all my questions in place, the business rules are going to go in. So this is a dynamic check sheet here. So I'm going to create a separator just to denote this section. The separators are very useful for imparting information to the user whilst they're engaging with the form. So in this instance here, it's denoting a section in the form. And all I'm doing is just creating a look of that here.
Let me know when you're ready for another question, Dave.
Yeah, I'm just going to add my table here first, Stuart, and then we'll get a few questions there. So my table here for my check sheet dynamic is going to be a repeating table. And I'm going to go down here and select the repeating table question type. And again, as I mentioned previously, tables can be notoriously difficult to work with in a lot of tools. They're quite straightforward here with FlowForma. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start adding my sub questions here. We've got a category sub question, which is a list lookup, which is looking up a category list, which is a single column list. Yeah, so it's the same. Once you've done a few of these, they come to you very, very quickly. So I know I've got a single column list called category. And again, the beauty of working on these lists here and using lists in your build is that it takes away an awful lot of the uncertainty and ensures that users are engaging with the form correctly. You're getting that one true source of data. So here's my category here. It's a single list lookup, single column, and then I'm going to save this. I'm going to go back into my build here, and now I'm going to be able to apply a filter. So now that I've chosen the category, I want to only see associated items for that category. And to do so, I add my next sub question called item. And that's going to be another list lookup. And it's going to look up my category item list this time. And if I scroll down here, select it here, I'm going to look it up in the item column, subject to the following filter for category equals chosen category in my table here.
Okay.
What I want to do then is capture some details around the chosen item. I'll leave that as multiple lines of text. I'm going to upload an image as well. So the image I'm going to upload, I want to be able to preview that. And that's going to be a file upload. I want to be able to preview that and allow the user to annotate over that image as well. I can also give a maximum preview width here as well. And then maybe we'd have one for comments and the fact that it's been checked. So again, you can layer this up very quickly. And add one more here. Checked. So what I'm going to do here is just a choice question, and I'm just going to have it as a checkbox, and the answer being yes. Now maybe you want to have all these defaulting to checked, and then maybe you want to uncheck the ones that need to be unchecked. So what we have now in situ is, again, if I just go in here and create a quick test form, you'll see what our dynamic table is starting to look like. And again, you can see how quickly it was put together. So we've got our category, category A, item A1. What we're going to do then is we're going to use a get this data rule now shortly with time. We're going to pull through an associated description for that item as well. I've got my select from device here, which allows me to take a picture on site, for example, on my tablet of a specific location, etc. And I can go in and I can annotate over that and continue adding and put in my comments. So you can see how quickly that was built.
Yeah.
What we're going to look at next is we're going to look at a fixed list. Do you want to throw that question at me there, Stuart?
Yeah, sure. It's from Jane. She says, thank you very much for showing us the picking up data from the SharePoint lists, but how does FlowForma integrate with other systems?
Okay, so lots of different ways you can integrate. So if you're integrating with a system that's got a connector and logic apps, we can do so via our logic apps connector, which is very, very clean, simple interface to work with. If it's a case of integrating in with a REST API, we've got our API connections as well, which is built into FlowForma that allows you to easily integrate in using REST APIs. And all this data is exchanged bidirectionally as well, so you can pull and push data. We've also got obviously built-in.
I think the great thing with the REST APIs is it's no code from our perspective as well, so it's a lot quicker and a lot more seamless.
Yeah, and there's also, because we sit on SharePoint, we're tightly integrated with SharePoint, which means we harness all the capabilities and functionality around lists and document management, etc. So you saw the document we generated there in our pre-existing form. You could take that document and route that through the predefined document library, subject to conditions, and so on. So it bolted onto an email. There's lots you can do. So all those capabilities are surfaced up using 100% no-code interface via FlowForma.
Well, that was a question. That was a question. What about the integration with SharePoint? So, Roberto, that's your question answered right there, I think.
Yeah, and like if you're working on documents, for example, you might have a scenario whereby you want to work on a document up to a point whereby it needs to be made read-only, for example. You can have business rules in place and apply those conditions to allow you to do that via FlowForma. Got our comments here, and we'll just have a yes/no then in that here. So what I'm doing here is my fixed table, and again, fixed tables are very relevant for check sheets, because a lot of the time, you want specific items checked off. So with a choice here, for example, I can go with a yes or no applicable. I'm going to go with just a let's go to radio button, and we'll display horizontally.
Spicing it up.
Yeah, exactly. So what I'm going to do now is, because we've got our table in place, we're going to be applying business rule now shortly to pull in all of the category and item information and details information. I'm going to make these fields read only. The requester here, I'm going to make that read only. I'm going to hide other. It's not needed at the outset. Okay. So what I'm doing here is I'm basically just prepping this for applying my business rules.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go to my approval step. I'm going to add 2 questions here: approval, yes, no, and comments. So my approval, and I'm on my second step now. I'm just going in and I'm saying yes, no for approval. Now, if the answer is no, what we'll do is we'll ask the approver to display comments, and then we'll pass it back to the first step. So I'm going to have my comments here as well. I will make that multiple lines of text. And I'm going to hide the comments by default because they're not needed at the outset. What I will need to include, though, on my first step is, if it does pass back, I'll need to see what the approver's comments are. So I'll add comments to the first step here. And I'll just add a wet signature as well here. So again, it's all about building on the fly. It's an agile tool. You're meant to be able to go in and make changes quickly. So I'm going to have comments here. And I'm going to hide those comments and make them read only. And I'll add a wet signature here as well. And then we'll start applying our business rules.
Okay. You've done that very quickly.
Oh, still a little bit of work to do, but we're getting there. So our signature will be a wet signature here. And we'll put in the date as well. And we'll go with date and time, and we'll just select date only, and we'll set it to today. Okay. And we'll make that read only. So what we're going to do is we're going to apply business rules now, just to show you where these rules sit. I'm just going to create a test form for a moment here. So the first rule we're going to apply is when the form loads up. And what we're going to do is we're going to go in and we're going to map through, actually I made that read only the wrong one there. We're going to map through the category item details list matrix into this fixed table here. What we're also going to do here is, if other is chosen, we're going to show other for our site. Okay. And when I click submit, it's going to move through to the next step. If the approver says no, we're going to show the comments. And then when I click submit, it's going to pass back and show these comments on the first step. So we're going to build all these rules in here now very quickly.
Okay.
The first type of rule we're going to build are question change rules. So question change rules fire on the trigger question. So what that means is you go to the question where the question control is being updated. So if I make a choice in a drop down, if I key in a value, if the condition of the rule is fulfilled, then the rule will fire. So for example, here, if I choose other as my site, then I want to show this question here. So my trigger point is here. This is a question change rule. I'm on my trigger question. If I go to my add rules, you'll see all the rule categories available to me for question change rules. All these high show question rules, which are going to use 60-70% of the time. All these data integration rules. There's our API call. There's our Azure Logic apps. Lots of integration options here. Got communications rules. SharePoint actions. There's a lot of depth to the tool here. So what we're going to do is we're going to use a hide show question rule. My trigger question is site. If other is chosen, I want to show other. So my condition, if I go out of conditions, if I drill down to my first step, if site equals other, I just simply key it in. It's simple business logic. If site equals other, I want to show, again, drilling down, I want to show other. It's as simple as that. I could be showing actions, I could be showing some questions, hiding others, and so on. And that's my rule in place. And what I would typically do here is as well, it's all about context. Because you're working with a single build interface, you can see where your rules sit and why they sit where they sit. So I would just simply just copy the condition here and paste that through here. So if I'm going through my build and I'm selecting requester, it defaults to question summary project. Again, same. If I select site, I can see my rule here. So I can see why it's where it sits. So it's very easy to see where your rules sit and why they sit where they sit. What I'm going to do here is I'm going to go add rules, data integration, get this data. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to pull through into my fixed table the appropriate list matrix and form loads. The list I want to pull it through from is my category item list. Just going to jump into them now. And that's it here. And the mappings is going to be true to my fixed table. I'm going to overwrite, and it's going to be very, very easy to map this. It's just category to category, item to item, and details to details here.
Okay.
If I move down into my second step here, if approval is no, I want to show comments. Another question change rule, add rules, hide show question.
Yeah.
Again, simple business logic. Go in, edit conditions. And if I drill down into my second step, if approval equals no, if that condition is fulfilled, I'm going to show, again, drilling down, comments.
Yeah.
What I'm going to do now at step level is, on the approval step, I'm going to add a rule here, and it's going to be a passback. So the moment the user clicks submit, I'm going to apply a step completed rule, and that rule fires the moment the user clicks submit. The event is completing. My condition is, I want to pass it back to the first step if the following condition is met. If approval equals no, I want to send it all the way back to the first step. What I also want to do is I want to use a hide show question rule, and I want to be able to show comments on the first step. So now going back to the first step, subject to the same condition. Edit my conditions, drill down to approval equals no. If that condition is met, we're going to send it back and we're going to show these comments. Last thing I need to do, data integration, set question value. What I'm going to do is I'm going to copy comments back to the first step. Target question, comments on the first step, source, comments on the second step here. So another few little things I'm going to do here very quickly. In our dynamic table here, I know once the user chooses an item, we're going to pull through the associated details from that item. So I'm going to make the details here, that column read only. I'm going to select my trigger point here, another question change rule. This time it's a sub question in my repeating table, data integration, get this data. And the list I want to extract my information from is my category item list. Again, if I scroll down, here's my list. Filter I'm going to apply is where the item equals, in my table, the chosen item here in my lookup. Then I want to map through into my details here. And that's it. So we've got quite a bit built here. Let's do a quick test on here and see how we're getting on. So I'm going to save this, I'm going to close.
Moment
I'm going to create a new form. Oh, yeah. So let me create a new form. And again, as I said, you know, a little bit of work putting your list together. You know, you get to really harness their power, particularly in the check sheet process. But this process equally could be an expenses one here. You could be doing calculations in this table here. You could be uploading receipts and so on. Project D. And one thing we haven't got, if I select other, hide show question rule should fire, and there it is. What I need to do is get this data rule to pull through the associated supervisor for the project. And we've got our dynamic table here, which we know this is working. We've tested this already. And you can see here, it's mapped through all the values into our fixed table here as well. Got our signature. When I click submit, it's going to move through to the next step. If I say no, and I click submit, passback is going to fire. Hide show question is going to fire, and we're going to embed those comments on our first step here.
Okay.
So there's one or two other things I want to do very, very quickly here, so just bear with me a moment. I'm just going to go back into my build. What we have here on our check sheet as well, the one I showed at the very, very start, is a Word document. that's populated with the appropriate content from the format which is generated, and the PDF is created. So this is my Word here, and the FlowForma tab's been installed here, FlowForma plugin. Once you upload your document template to Document Templates Library on SharePoint, you can then, and associate with a process, you can then pull through whatever tokens you want from that process into your builds here. So all you do is decide where you want to position it. So for example, if I were to go in here, I can just go in, drill down here. Each of these little mini clipboards here is a token. So question title can be cursor positioned here, answer can be cursor positioned here, and so on. It's very easy to work with tables. You can decide to keep the pre-existing table structure or create one to customized tabular structure for each row in the table, as I did in this instance here. You can also apply rules here as well. So you see here, this section here, project title is under this rule here. If I go to my rules tab, you'll see what that rule is. It's only going to display that content if the following condition is true. If the answer to that, project equals project A, then display that content. What that means is the generated document is going to reflect specifically the instance in which it's generated. It's only going to show content that's relevant to that specific case. Any content that isn't relevant will get removed from the document, and the document will contract to reflect that. One thing to bear in mind as well here, I just wanted to go in and just show you very quickly, is the learnings you get from working on tables here, for example, in this instance using a check sheet, can be very easily applied to other processes such as expenses and so on, and approvals. So this one here, even though it's a purchase order, it's got a lot of the functionality you'd expect in an expenses process. So you've got, again, SharePoint list lookups here. You've got calculated questions here. You'll notice here it says here that purchase requisition total greater than 2,500 requires level 2 approval. So if I put this in and under that, you'll see level 2 approval is gone. And that's an example of an approval process changing depending on how the user engages with the form. You're building that in using simple business logic, 100% no code. You can do all your calculations here as well, get your subtotals and so on.
Okay. Well done, Dave.
That's me done and dusted, Stuart.
A hat trick. Well done. Congratulations. So that's 3 on the trot within the hour. We have 5 minutes or so left. Look, there's a whole bunch of questions coming in. Although
sure.
Connor's got some as well. There's a couple here that I think I can answer quite quickly. How do I organize my free trial? Connor's going to tell you is my answer to that as part of his summary finish. The other one is what's the pricing model? So very, very simple. We'll come for an annual subscription. All functionality is included, unlimited processes, so you can digitize at will with self-sufficiency where you want across your business. It will also include the sure start that David mentioned in terms of getting one process up and running and live, working collaboratively with you, and we'll train the business users as well. What also is included is support and upgrades. So it's one annual fee, job done. Connor, welcome back.
Thank you very much. Well done, guys. Just in on time. So, but we are running a little bit later than I think we had anticipated. So, we might just move on to some of the questions that came in, which there were several. I know, Dave, you run a bit of a momentum there, so it was hard to get those across. So, yeah, we might just have time for maybe 1 or 2 questions before we go.
Sure.
So let me see, there's one question here asking if you have any tips which can help us to prioritize which processes to automate. Maybe, Stuart, that might be something you can help our audience and this person here with.
Yeah, sure. All our customers actually start with one process and then they find out how easy it is and then they digitize at pace across their business. So it always starts with one. And what we recommend to them is choose a process that is impactful within your business. So once you do digitize it, the good news travels quickly. Doesn't necessarily need to be the most complex, the most problematic, etc. It's the one that the good news will travel the furthest. So it's a good tip that for prioritization of where you start.
Definitely. Thanks for that, Stuart. Another question here. I think that this might be something that you touched on already, but I've got staff in a lot of remote areas. Would the FlowForma tool work for remote users? I think that might have been something you may have touched on briefly.
Yeah, so it's got mobile enablement, iOS and Android, together with offline capabilities. So the answer to that is yes.
Great. I might just squeeze in one more question before we wrap up for today's workshop session. Stuart, I might pose this last one to you. How soon could I see an ROI from implementing FlowForma? I suppose the question there is how long is a piece of string, but I'm sure you might have some tips here for this person asking that question.
It does, and it all depends on the use cases of each individual customer, what they're trying to achieve, whether it's strategic or operational. I would say a customer starts to get return on their investment not only once they've digitized the process, but once they've got it live in production. As I say, the average of that is 6 weeks. Just off the top of my head, you've got Beaumont Hospital in Dublin. They got rid of over nearly 1 million letters and digitized all those, and they saved themselves nearly 218,000 euros per annum. That was with one flow. Another one is AC Immune, based in Switzerland. They got up and running and live with an HR onboarding. Within 6 weeks, they calculated they spent 22 hours themselves on the whole process of mapping, digitizing, and releasing into production. So this is quick return on investment, guys. This is not an elongated thing. It's agile, it's iterative. You don't have to be perfect when you release the process out because you can iteratively change it. I hope that answers the question, Colin.
Yeah, I think so. Thanks very much. Plenty of savings there for everyone. So yeah, I think we're just right out of time. So I'd just like to quickly say apologies for if we didn't get to your questions, because I know a lot of them came in throughout. But we did set out what we were tasked to do. We digitized that in under an hour. So thank you very much, David and Stuart, for that. And if we didn't get to your question, David and Stuart and our other process specialists will be sure to reach out to you to answer those after our session today. And just before we wrap up, a quick reminder too that you can book a one-to-one call with any of our process experts, or sign up for a free personalized demo, or indeed a free 14-day trial on our website at www.flowforma.com. And our experts there are more than happy to steer your digital transformation project in the right direction. So be sure to reach out with any questions or queries you may have after today's session. So finally, as I mentioned earlier, when this webinar ends, there'll be a very short survey. If you could fill that out for us, we would be really, really appreciative of that. It should only take about 30 seconds for you. But we're right out of time, folks. And thank you very much again to Dave and Stuart for your help today. And we hope to see you on our next workshop. So thank you very much. Have a great rest of your day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.